my team, he looks over to me and I see the pencil move as his eyes turn. So that is a great first lesson on how to handle impaled objects of the eye. Cover the other eye. They're not going to be able to see out of the one that has an impaled object, but eyes move together typically, right? So if one eye looks one direction, so is the other. So quickly cover the other eye. Either have them just cover it, tell them not to move their eyes as much as possible. And then when you're bandaging and wrapping, you're going to have your partner or your patient, you just hold that for me, hold the gauze over their eye because we're wrapping both their eyes. Now what I've just done here, you can take that off for a second so you can see what I'm doing, is make something called a donut out of your cravat. The way you do that, you just wrap it around your hand a few times like so, and then you start wrapping it in and out of that. I have seen people use these to play ring toss with someone's eye impalement. So none of you are going to do that, right? You're not going to go for the pen in someone's eye and try and thread the needle, because pushing this further into someone's head would be bad. But it does provide an excellent amount of body, right? So now these are cushions. So now that I have two of them, if he has an eye impalement, I can just come to either side of it and place that there to stabilize it. You always want to stabilize something that's impaled in your patient. If we're doing an eye bandaging that's not impaled, you just do this the same way. You just wrap around, make sure there's a decent amount of pressure there. So let's pretend he has an eye impalement. I never, ever want to see you guys practicing your eye impalements with an actual pencil or pen. That is how eye impalements happen. I don't care if the eraser is next to his eye, that can happen too. So I never want you to just be like, okay, hold this next to your eyeball for me so I can practice wrapping it. We're not going to do that. You're just going to pretend that there's a pen there. So I'm going to go ahead and have my patient hold this. I like to kind of fold it into the shape of their eye socket that's a little bit longer. That way there's just not a massive thing of gauze hanging out. And then I'll come up on the other side of his impaled object and I'll hold that there. And I grab my gauze. Remember, there's an impalement sticking out right there. And I'm gonna wrap around, again, trapping over the occiput. And down underneath and up and over like that. So the pen would still be right there. Could you please go get me one of those plastic cups? Thank you. So with any sort of impaled object, you want to immobilize it completely. Just gonna have you hold that there for a second. I've seen someone come into an emergency department with like a ball of gauze around their hand because the whole idea is to mobilize it as best as you can. Whether that means you take more cravats or triangle bandages and link and log it up until it's covering the whole thing and you can wrap that down securely. Or if you know that you can cover it with a cup so that it won't get bumped, that works too. The only thing with a cup is you're gonna be tightening this down with the gauze. I wanna make sure that you guys have a decent amount of distance between the impaled eye object and the base of the cup. Otherwise, once that gauze compresses and the fabric slowly gets smaller and smaller, it's gonna start pushing this into their eye if you didn't plan for that. The other thing you can do is cut the base out of a cup, right? Something like that. Thank you so much. So we're gonna come back to our impaled object. Pretend that it's right there in the center of the cup, right? Then I'm gonna come up, over, around, just like that. You can't let go of the cup yet, but now we're coming back this way. We're gonna come over and around and back that way. Now that you have the two opposite directions taken care of, you can just wrap. So how'd you impale your eye?
I was running with a pencil. I tripped.
That's fine. I used to do that with toothbrushes. My father got so mad. brush my teeth while running up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Stable. Yeah? Cool. So that's eye impaled objects. Okay, really quick before I take this last bit of gauze off, I want you guys to notice something that I've done on this side and this side. How many senses do you have as a human being?
5.
5. Now he's down to 4. I have the capability of covering both. Sorry, Jenny. That's not very cinematic worthy. I have the capability of covering both his ears and his nose, right? Stressful situation for someone who had all their senses 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
So make sure that you're not covering the ears so they can still hear. That's a big one. And don't cover their nose holes. Okay. Impaled objects of the leg look a lot like this, just on their leg or on their arm.
Well, it's bright.
I've been in darkness the whole time. Do you guys have questions on impaled objects? Okay.
Can you go over again just how you made those?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you take it out of the package, it's already this like nicely folded cravat. You guys will see them yourselves. The loose ones that we have in the back there that have already been used, they have no creases in them or whatnot. You can do the same thing with them. You just take one end of it and pull it like that, so it's now a flat string. Now you take that, you wrap it around your hand a couple times like that, and then you pull that off your hand, and then you just feed it through until you have a support for the actual donut itself. And it doesn't have to be like you're perfectly covering all the surface area. You just want the fabric to stay where it is, like that. Does that make sense? Cool. That's impaled objects. You can also do that on leg, arm, things like that. The whole idea is that if it's impaled, which I will let you guys use pens and pencils like on each other's legs when you're doing that, so you can get the feel of it, or on arms, because a pen in the arm is not nearly as bad as in your eyeball. But just make sure that you have like a nice amount of body, and if you have enough of those, you can even use gauze rolls, honestly. Like if we're looking at an impaled object on his thigh, I can use gauze rolls to come to either side of it and then come here, and then if I want I can keep going, and then you just wrap that down. So practice makes perfect, and I promise, I guarantee you guys, the prettier your bandage is, the more effective it is at doing its job. Looks matter here, so do it slow at first to get the hang of it. And then you can start to go really fast with it, and you'll just get it down a lot better. Okay? All right. Go ahead and bust open your guys' package.